What's going on, ladies and DeGents? It is the Distinguished DeGents podcast, your home of Maryland sports gambling from Maryland, live. I am Steve Big Bucks Beta. Joining me, as always, post Super Bowl depression, it is Jason Monty Mansman. Monty Mansman. I hope our friend Niners gang ends up joining for this. We have a lot to go over for that Super Bowl matchup. But in other news, how are things on your end, my friend?
Well, I had a good betting Super Bowl. Got a new computer, and look, I got a new house. No, I'm just kidding. The house is fake,
Yeah.
but got a new computer, living well. The Super Bowl betting was kind to me, so cheers.
Super Bowl betting for me was very hit and miss. I did hit on some good plays. Unfortunately, the Niners not hitting kind of put me into a deficit with my 25 unit weekend, but overall didn't lose my shirt. Got a majority of my prop bets back. That was a good blessing in disguise, but unfortunately put a little too much chalk into the game itself. Boy, oh boy, this Super Bowl was, on one hand, it was exactly everything we chalked it up to be. On the other hand, I think you can make the argument it should have been better, could have been worse. I mean, just your overall feeling, this Super Bowl just didn't really feel like years past to me. So I wanted to get your input.
Well, I think what hurt the game sort of to begin with was the lack of juice into the game. Just because when your biggest story in the game is like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce off the field, like there wasn't a whole lot of juice to the game. Didn't matter,
No.
by the way. Highest rated like sports program, or one of the highest rated programs ever. So it's not like
Broke a record.
stuff. Yeah. It was a very poor game for 3/4, and then it really, I don't know, man. I can't remember maybe the last Super Bowl like that was just a good game, like full game. Don't get me wrong. The ending was, the fourth quarter was great. Overtime was great. That, I think, made the game itself like overall good. But I mean, no offense, the first 3/4 of football that was bad football, man.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills-Chiefs game was a good full game, for whatever you want to say how it ended. But that was a good full game of football. The Niners-Lions,
yeah,
even then, great game of football. You had one team with a big lead and then the comeback. Even with as bad as Packers-Niners was in the first half in that game, you could say the same thing. Rams-Lions even in that first half, and then the second half ended up turning defense. It just seemed like it really was bad football, and not even like defensive football, because there were just so many turnovers going early into this game that it didn't even feel like you could give credit to either defense for the reason, not like the Rams Patriots, where just it didn't matter what the offenses did. Nobody could just move. It was just like anytime someone got close, they turned the ball over. Anytime someone was on their way to driving, they would get a penalty and they would get stopped on third down. It was just so dreadful, and especially in that first half.
I think you could give the Niners defense credit beginning of the game. I mean, you got to give the Chiefs defense credit too, but like the Niners were flying around, hair on fire, basically putting the Chiefs down. Like they were playing crazy. The Niners should have been up 24-0 at the end of the first half. They had so many opportunities, and Brock Purdy, he didn't lose the game, but God, there was some like really disgusting looking airmails that were not pretty.
Yeah, Brock Purdy, for lack of a better term, looked a lot like Jimmy Garoppolo did in that game. A lot of bad reads, a lot of overthrows. Just that not somebody who, for the story on the Niners side, they were making it all about Mr. Irrelevant. Could Mr. Irrelevant win the Super Bowl? The last draft pick ever, not an undrafted quarterback, the last draft pick. Could he prove all the doubters wrong? And it's like, evidently he remembered he was Mr. Irrelevant. And you have to start wondering, with this Niners team, and especially the Chiefs too. I mean, I think you could argue the Chiefs got away by the skin of their teeth. And just overall, I will say, just opening remarks. I mean, halftime show was good. I did enjoy that as an elder millennial. I'm sure your sister had no idea what any of the songs were, but you know, God bless her
Oh,
heart.
even worse. Here was how bad like my week has been. Like it was good because I got the new computer, but it started off so bad. We were literally because someone was coming to look at the basement. We were like moving the washing machine. The hose on the
Mm-hmm.
washing machine had rusted out, was leaking everywhere. Had a plumber,
No.
thank God. Emergency call Sunday night of the Super Bowl. Came out and fixed it. Shout out Apple Plumbing. Thank you so much.
Oh, I use them too. So we're gonna have to talk to them maybe one day, see if we can get a plug out because we've used Apple Plumbing here as well. They have
They're good,
definitely come
right?
in
They're
clutch.
really good.
Yeah,
I love Apple Plumbing.
yeah. So shout out Apple Plumbing out here in Maryland. They were the ones that when the bathroom sink got messed up, they came over and fixed all the stop valves for me, so that way we could get a running bathroom again. So that was
Yeah,
nice
they're
of
good.
them.
But yeah, that was my Super Bowl Sunday halftime show. So we didn't really see the halftime show, but
See, like, and for me, it was like I didn't really have anything like that crazy. It was just more like, um,
this
I
game
mean, last I
sucked.
checked, it really wasn't anything that crazy. Other than when my basement flooded, I mean, we just kind of, just more or less been dealing with that. And like I said, and hopefully by off season, you know, we can get some of that working on. But yeah, I honestly like the halftime show was good. The first half was just dreadful football. Um, and overall, like I hope next year it's a better Super Bowl. I hope next year there's at least a story to it. Um, but we do still have some time to kill, so I guess we could get into the nooks and crannies of the game. I'll give out the final score. It was San Francisco 22, Kansas City 25. We've talked about the first half and just how dreadful it was. Christian McCaffrey, rare once in a lifetime fumble to start the game. Kansas City, Kadarius Toney is a two-time Super Bowl winning wide receiver.
I don't know. Bro,
You
Miko
know,
Hardman, the ex-New York Jet, wins the Super Bowl. Closest the Jets will
God,
get to a Super Bowl.
no fucking kidding. But I had one question that I definitely wanted to propose to you as far as the Super Bowl goes.
Yeah, sure.
And I was hoping Niners gang would join for this, but we'll see if we can have them rewind to this. I want to talk about the state of each team. Now, me being on the AFC West as a Broncos fan, I want to save my argument for the Chiefs. Where do you put the state of the Niners in the offseason? What does this loss mean? Maybe even as far as legacies for, you know, all important characters. And I mean, what's your just general overall reaction, like as far as the Niners go? Because I know you're all over the Chiefs, so I want to see what you see on the other
You
side.
know what? It's tough because the Niners really played well enough to win. But to me, it's like all of the focus has been on Shanahan's decision to take the ball to start overtime. And I disagree with the decision, but that's something for later. This game was lost in the first half when the Niners were up 10-3 at halftime. I mean, it just felt like the Niners were dominating the game and they just didn't do anything with it. And the third quarter might have been, I think Kyle Shanahan had the worst quarter of his life. I mean, all of those passing attempts in the third quarter with Brock Purdy overthrowing receivers by 15 feet and them like having
Mm-hmm.
3 straight drives where they ran the ball one time. That was, I mean, C-Mac didn't even get over his rushing attempts till overtime. I mean, that shows you how
Yeah.
little that they ran the ball, and they seem to have a lot of success. I mean, I don't know. To me, with the Niners, look, they played a good game. They gave the Chiefs all they could handle. It's really hard to go and say, like, boy, the Niners have a lot to sort of regret because, you know, every game you could point to a few things of reasons why you lose. But I think they really should have won the game. I actually think the wrong team won the game. I thought the Niners were the better team for really 3 quarters, and they're going to be kicking themselves because they didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, decision making is one way to put it. I chalk it up simply as Shanahan choked once again in the brightest moment. And it's odd to me, and you mentioned Christian McCaffrey rushing attempts, and he didn't get it till overtime. You, as the Niners, basically pushed your offense through Christian McCaffrey. Why all of a sudden, when the Ravens tried to do it, when the Bills were the most successful at doing it and proved that it was the most successful, why wouldn't you just keep running the ball? That first drive was very indicative of what I thought this Niners team was going to do in this Super Bowl. Put it on the back of McCaffrey, and then pass later. And it just seemed like after that first drive, after he fumbled, which really wasn't all Christian McCaffrey's fault too much. Like, yeah, he could have held it a little bit tighter, but great defensive play all around by the Chiefs. You know, hard to really discredit that move either. It wasn't like he was Melvin Gordon with the oopsie daisies and the fucking butterfingers, letting the ball go every 5th play. This was like a once-in-a-lifetime fumble for C-Mac. But even then, let's even say, okay, Christian McCaffrey fumbled first drive, he needs to sit for a minute. Why wouldn't you switch out Eli Mitchell? Someone who's also familiar with this team. Why would you not continue to run the ball? When you've had games with Brock Purdy, you know what he's going to give you. You know he's going to make barely decent throws at times. Why did they just do what the Ravens did and just like try to throw it on Purdy to win this game when the whole year you got there because of essentially McCaffrey? That was asinine moment number 1 for me, which is when I got scared. Asinine moment number 2, it was kicking the 3. It wasn't that they went for it on first. Here's my problem with the overtime. Number 1, I don't mind that you take the ball first, especially if you're the Niners and you're saying, you know what, I think our defense could stop them on the second drive. We just need to get points on the board. If that's your logic going into it, I have no issue with you going first. Even though lately they say in the playoffs you should go second because if they, kind of like what Kansas City did, if they score 3, you run and get a touchdown, you're going to win. Why does then half your team after the Super Bowl come out, oh, we didn't prep for this?
Oh, that was bad, yeah.
It's Super Bowl fucking weekend, and you don't prep for overtime situations. And then they go to Kansas City, and Andy Reid goes, Andy Reid, oh yeah, like we spent like every week of the playoffs going over these scenarios. I mean, even me and you, who are not NFL affiliated whatsoever, would kind of think, oh yeah, there's new overtime rules. What happens if we go to overtime with Kansas City? What's the game plan? We should probably have a contingency in place. Maybe not full in depth, but at least have somewhat of a basis of a plan. And you're basically telling me they had nothing?
Asses drinking beer in our basement, and I bet we both knew the overtime rules. Like,
I knew the overtime. Now, I will admit, I didn't know the safety rule, which was if the opening possession is a safety, whoever gets the safety automatically wins. Didn't know that, but the other rules I did know. How are you a professional NFL team in the Super Bowl and you don't know the overtime rule? Why would you even say it, even if it was true? And that, to me, just screams, do you know why the Niners lost? Kyle Shanahan. And I think that, most of the sports media is absolutely right. Like, I think Kyle Shanahan only has himself to blame here. Your players are coming out and saying you didn't have a game plan for this moment. That's piss poor coaching. The Chiefs side of the ball, they were ready. And it showed. To be honest with you, the fact that the Niners got a field goal was more of a miracle.
Well, let's be honest. They got bailed out by a really, really speculative holding call at like a horrendous time in the game. That was a really speculative defensive holding call on 3rd and 12.
That's fair. And say what you will, but you know what? Like, I don't want to hear Brock Purdy didn't do good in the big moment. I don't want to hear Brock Purdy isn't a franchise quarterback. Like, to me, you as Kyle Shanahan knew what team you had going into this game. You bailed from what got you there in the first place. It just seems like these teams, the minute they face the Chiefs, they just deviate from whatever success they have and they try to get creative and new. And I just think that, like, at some point, you have to just kind of stick to your guns and just say, you know what? We're gonna beat you the way we've won every other game, and if you beat us at that, so be it. Because otherwise, like, you're making this, and this is me talking about the Chiefs now. I don't want to hear going into the offseason how great and magical and how much of a dynasty the Chiefs were. I'm not going to go and say they're lucky to make the Super Bowl. They fucking beat every team since the wild card. Also very hard to do.
Hardest path ever. Hardest path ever.
Yeah, Dolphins, Bills, Ravens, in ball, all two of the last three on the road. Then the Super Bowl. So, again, kudos to them. They did win. But at the same fucking time, like, this team was so vulnerable. There were just moments you felt like the Niners had the Chiefs dead to rights. And especially in that fourth quarter, it was just like, just get the stop. Go get the points. They would go get the points. Just get the stop. And they would just change the scheme. Like Steve Wilkes at the last second would just change the scheme and just let fucking Mahomes go play hero ball. And it wasn't even like it was that magical.
And then he got fired. Then he got fired out. Like, how fucking pathetic was that? Like, really?
I don't know. Like, that just seems like very, like, they talked about, God, I forget his name, but because he was your Bills offensive coordinator before you fired him.
Dorsey.
Ken Dorsey.
The offensive coordinator of the Browns now. That should be fun.
Oh, that's going to be great. But you know what? Like, let's say this for what you will. They said Ken Dorsey was a scapegoat for Sean McDermott. Can we just admit that, like, Steve Wilkes probably just got scapegoated for fucking Kyle Shanahan? I mean, is that far off from the truth?
I don't know, man. The defense played a good 3 quarters, that's for sure.
Yeah, I
played a good 3 quarters of football.
I just don't know how. How do you fire him after all that? That's what I just don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know, man. And yeah, I don't know. It's hard because there's like, I really don't want to jump on the Shanahan kill train, but that first quarter, man, that felt like there was a lot left on the table. And it's funny because when he went 4th down and 4 in regulation, I thought that was the wrong move. I would have kicked the field goal. And then in overtime, when he kicked the field goal, I 100% would have gone for it.
See, and I thought that was crazy, and I never really got into it. But here's, like, it's overtime, and it's the Chiefs. You kind of, and again, it goes back to not having a game plan, but you kind of have to think at some point, I need 7 just to stay alive. 3, you're losing. Especially the way that fourth quarter was going. It just seemed crazy that, like, well, it's the Super Bowl, I want the points. Like, and I forget who said it, but somebody said, like, on ESPN, teams really just need to get, like, a gut check guy who really doesn't know analytics, who really doesn't know, you know, player stats at the top of their head. But you just need a guy who's, like, a gut check analytics guy who's just going to, like, he's going to tell the coach, hey, call timeout, I'll explain afterwards, but just do it. Or, hey, Dan Campbell, you've gone for it for 2 twice now, it hasn't worked, just kick the point, I'll go over it later. And it just seemed like Kansas City has never had that issue. It seems like Kansas City just knows what to do in every game and in every situation. They know how to approach it.
Well, that's just because, I mean, you're seeing how good of a coach Andy Reid is. And it's funny because he was always looked at as a loser because Philly never made it over the hump. But you have a guy who, 4 straight NFC championships. I think it's 4 out of 5 AFC championships now and 3 Super Bowls in his last 5 years. I mean, Guy is like, you're looking, it's like Belichick, Shula. Like Reed is probably in the top 10, top 5 of all time
Yeah,
now.
I would say, yeah, at least. Excuse me. I would argue that for sure. I just, I think at the end of the day, like with Shanahan, I'm not going to go on the Ravens and Steelers path and just say he needs to go. It's been too long. They need a change of scenery. I don't think the Niners get any more successful without Shanahan. I think, if anything, they start tanking. But at some point, like, I don't think Steve Wilkes was the problem. I think if you're John Lynch in this Niners team, you really need to start considering, like, your quarterback situation. And you need to start taking it for real. Last season with the whole Brock Purdy, Trey Lance situation, you were still getting them more or less on the cheap. Now, all of a sudden, you're kind of in a situation where you learn you don't really have a Mahomes. You don't have a Josh Allen. You don't have a Lamar Jackson. And it's like, unless you go and get a quarterback like that, you're never going to get over this hump. And even if you do...
the thing is, they could have. I mean, that's the worst part about this game, I feel like, for the Niners. You say what you want about Reed's a genius, Mahomes is great, you need a Mahomes, You didn't need a Mahomes. What you needed to do was put up 24 points in the first half, and that game is over. I mean, It's just like San Francisco just let him hang around. Like, this isn't Bills Chiefs, where the Bills, it seemed like every time they did something well on offense, the Chiefs immediately went right down the field and scored. I mean, you held them down, and you didn't capitalize. It's a team football game. I mean, no offense, the Niners should have been up 24-0 in that first half because the Chiefs had.
I would even argue 17-0. Like, maybe not even 24. 17-0 you could have had. And it was just like, no, and that's why, like, look, say what you will, but, I blame Shanahan one. Purdy, I just don't know if you get any better with or without him. I think if you upgrade from Purdy, you upgrade the Niners. And I think we proved that. Oh, and Deebo Samuel. Oh, by the way, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. Pathetic numbers these guys put up.
Okay, Deebo at least was injured. George Kittle, non-existent.
Like, literally, if you want a fucking extra lineman, just put in an extra lineman. Why the fuck do you have... Like, and don't get me wrong, probably the best blocking tight end ever. You don't pay George Kittle to be a blocking tight end all the time. Get him fucking involved once, and if you can't, then look at the fucking quarterback. That's
no, it's okay. They were going to get Kyle Juszczyk involved. That worked. Thank you, SGP.
Oh, Jesus.
I had that plus 640. I had a small bet on that plus 640.
Oh. Yeah, let's get Juszczyk involved. Noah Gray, non-existent. That was a killer.
You had a bad Super Bowl, man. I was watching the game. I was like, I don't think Steve's doing that well.
For 25 units, I think I got like 15 back. It wasn't like the end of, like I said, it wasn't the end of the world, but
yeah, it's not the end of the world.
But I mean, I'd have to go. I have to pull it up now because now I got it. Now I really got to go back and.
I think, did my Brock Purdy under hit? Oh, that was your bad beat of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy had, 13 rushing yards and then lost 1 yard to end regulation to finish under 12.5.
Oh, God. Yeah, I know a lot of people got burned on that. I was luckily smart enough to bet it early. I got it at 11.5.
Oh, okay. Yay.
So that one hit. Marquez Valdez-Scantling over 19.5 receiving yards. That was a hit early on.
An anytime touchdown on him. That was.
Oh, my Kelsey receptions props. The ladder. I bet the ladder up to 9. All of it hit.
I tailed the reception prop and that hit. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. My Niners, and the one loss that really killed me, I had a 3-unit play I had a Niners margin play at plus 135. Niners 1-13. Fucking beat. Bad beat. Noah Gray didn't get yards. McCaffrey Super Bowl prop didn't hit. McCaffrey 2 touchdowns didn't hit. I did hit Fred Warner over 8.5 tackles. I don't know if I gave that out. Mahomes under passing yards because of the overtime. That was bad.
Yeah, that got killed.
But I got lucky. I got the Brock Purdy rushing yards. That was good. Oh wow, did I actually do? I actually did do that. Wow. I actually put out a live bet on the Chiefs with that when the free bonus bet hit. I actually fucking. I don't think so. That's weird.
You went out for a minute.
Oh, that's weird. My ear. Okay, I guess I'm good now, right?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Cool. Yeah. I had a Chiefs live bet like 1 unit when it was a live dog plus 140, so little bit of a hedge, which helped. But like I said, could have been better. Should have been better.
My Super Bowl MVP, Jawan Jennings, baby. I called it.
Whew.
Knew it.
They still lost.
Well, I didn't have him Super Bowl MVP, but I had that anytime touchdown and
That's right, you did.
Oh, that was I had my $10 free bet on Jawan Jennings touchdown, 6-1.
There you go. All right. Well, I think we talked enough about the Super Bowl, so we now move on into the off season. And by the way, our special guest, Spaceman Sam Celentano, will be joining us shortly because we have some UFC picks to go over. But before we do that, off season. So my goal for the off season is I obviously want to do the UFC pay-per-views. At least get those events done. I don't know if, that will be the case all the time. I want to do that, and I'm actually looking back into the hockey market.
Oh.
And my goal probably will be either Wednesdays or even Thursdays. I haven't decided yet. Wednesdays are usually the big hockey days, so I think what I'm going to try and do is put out a 1 minute short or 1 minute TikTok or whatever the hell it is nowadays. Just giving out some of my best hockey plays per week, just so I can keep the page active, keep the fans coming, keep it live. What are your plans? I know we talked about it a little bit, but what is your off season plan? I know there's always a short break in between, but
yeah, so definitely UFC want to get back into that because it's just football. I mean, it takes up so much time that it gets very hard to follow like UFC during football season because there's just so much of it. But yeah, definitely now that it's the off season, want to get back into UFC, watch that more. Obviously, we have our UFC pay-per-views that we, generally handicap. Obviously, when baseball season comes, do a little bit more on that. Maybe in the early spring, even give a whirl with some MLB futures. And then now that I have a computer, maybe a little bit more video editing. Put together some snazzier sort of, sports reaction stuff. So that's
the reactions we'll have to do like off-season breaking news and reactions and all that shit. Speaking of, hold on, what the hell? There was something there was something I really wanted to go over, and it was the Kansas City shooting. I'm assuming you saw the news on that.
Oh yeah. Just a random like a random dispute that turned violent, I guess.
Fucking teenagers, basically. Fucking, like, I mean, really, God, like, this is the state we're gonna get to now. Like, it sounds fucked up. It's bad enough the Chiefs won the Super Bowl again. Like, that was bad enough, but, like, let them have their goddamn parade. Let it be, like, the one time people can get together and be happy. And then it just basically gets ruined with this fucking tragedy, and it's like 10 children get shot, one person dies.
Yeah. It could have been so much. I mean, it's bad because it could have been so much worse, but at the same time, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to get political or anything. It's just a shame because it seems like things are going well and these tragedies come out of nowhere. And this one, I think it's almost more of a shame because I don't know, you almost expect it to be some lunatic, terrorist, psychopath. And for this to just be like a random dispute where a bunch of people just get shot, like because of craziness, I don't know. It's just sad, man. It's just really sad.
It's sad that it had to happen here. It's sad that other people really had to pay the price for a fucking dispute. And I don't know, like there's moments I just want to yell at people like they need to grow the fuck up and just get over themselves. Yeah. And that's neither here nor there. And of course our thoughts are with those people out in Kansas City. We especially the shooting in Buffalo. My dad's we're fucking an hour out from Baltimore, so gun violence, something that kind of hits close, but just got to get to a point where we got to get better. But
and it just gets harder because we were in Buffalo and the AFC Championship was in Baltimore, and who knows if Buffalo was in it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they would have. But it's just one of those things where it gets hard to go to these big events anymore because you just, And
no, you're 100% right.
Even the Buffalo, the Bills fans shot and killed in Miami at the end of the season. Like, it just gets to the point where it's, you go to a football game and it's like, well, am I going to die? Like, it's just.
Yeah, going out, you have to going out, you shouldn't have to think that way. And that's just kind of like the sad state of where we're at right now. It's just, you go out, you're not supposed to think this is the last time I go out. But it's like we've always said, it's like a famous professor said, just be safe, always be safe out there. Know your surroundings and just having some social consciousness of like what is going on all around you. Knowing where to be, knowing where not to be at the end of the day. So hopefully, people take this off season to really reflect on that kind of shit too. And that'll be something I probably focus and work on. But I think we've went on long enough about the Super Bowl. We got to get back on track. Spaceman is en route. Till then, we'll go ahead and get started. It is UFC 298. And I have no idea where it is at right now. I'll pull that up. But Money Management, let me propose the first question to you. What is your best early prelim or prelim bet that you would like to give out? Or just prediction in general?
Well, why don't you go first? Because I didn't know we were doing any prelim stuff. So now I have to look. Put me on the spot.
That's okay.
So why don't you go with your best prelim bet? I think I have an idea, but you go with your first prelim bet first.
Sure. So, by the way, it's going to be live in Anaheim, California. Start time will be 6 o'clock Eastern time. Right? Yep, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. There's 2 early prelim fights. There's 3, 4, 5 on the prelim card. I was actually half tempted to go to one of the heavyweight bouts, Marcos Rogero de Lima versus Justin Tafa. However, Justin Tafa got a last-minute injury on less than 24 hours notice. His brother, Junior Tafa, is stepping in to fight this guy.
I was looking at 2. I like even before, not that I really handicapped them all that extensively because I didn't know we were doing prelim. That was one of the ones I was like, ooh, that could be a sneaky dog. Damn it.
Yeah, Justin Tafa pulled at the last minute. His brother is stepping in on short notice.
Yeah.
The odds actually shrunk. So now Justin was like a 2-1 dog. Junior is a plus 124 right now on DraftKings. But there's a different it's a welterweight. There's an early welterweight bout I'm going to. And you're going to give me shit, but hear me out. It's Oben Elliott versus Val Woodburn. Do you remember who Val Woodburn is?
Yes, unfortunately. I remember.
So I think Val Woodburn, 2.5 to 1 dog,
Oh no.
Worth a flick of a chip.
Wow.
Here's why. Owen Elliott making his UFC debut, all the way from Wales. Now traveling all the way out to California for his first fight. Number 2, Val Woodburn is a guy who is... There's a couple reasons. One of them being he has actually, like, fought at a bunch of different weights. He's gone to light heavyweight before and actually had success, I believe. Welterweight, he came in on very short notice against Bo Nickel. And it was no wonder he didn't last a minute. But now he's kind of getting like a massive step down on a guy from another regional scene. Where I think Val Woodburn has had another fight since. What was that?
Bro, he fought in Cage Warriors. Val Woodburn fought in fucking like the Tennessee, Florida regional circuit, bro. It's Spaceman Sam. This is you might.
Yeah, here we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, joining us, a big fan of the show, a big fan of his. Give it up for Spaceman Sam Celentano.
No.
Good to
All
be
right,
here.
Sam. Welcome back. We're talking about UFC 298. We're each giving out a best pick for the early prelim or the prelim card. I think Val Woodburn, 2.5 to 1 underdog, is worth a flick of a chip here, and I think he's worth a pick.
I don't know. I'm not picking Val Woodburn because he didn't look good in the last fight. He looked terrible in his last fight. I forgot who he fought.
Okay, but hold on. He had a... It was last minute. It was last minute to Bo Nickel on short notice.
Yeah, that's
He's
right.
getting a fucking full camp. It's in his home country. The other guy's coming from fucking Wales in Cage Warriors. And it's his UFC debut. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if this guy should be like a 1 to 3 favorite.
common sense
on a guy who's
always pick the guy whose first fight it is, but you never know. Those Cage Warrior fighters have a pretty good track record of crossing over in the UFC. They've seen a lot of success. So I don't
the
know
Welsh
anything about this
gangster.
guy. Ugh,
Thank
Welsh
you.
gangster,
Thank
okay.
you. Val Woodburn. He's okay. He got knocked out in the last minute of the first round. Poor wrestler.
I'm pulling up.
Yeah, and this guy's been knocked out twice. So I don't know. I saw the size of I think it's worth a flick. I'm not saying it's my best bet, but like as far as like odds and like the rest of the card, this is one where I'm like I actually kind of see some value in the play. And look, if I'm wrong, I'll eat it, of course. Like could be a bad play, but I just think Val Woodburn to be a 2.5 to 1 dog against a guy who's never came to the UFC, it's absurd.
This guy has to be really good.
I don't know, but Sam, early prelim or prelim, like what's your favorite fight on the prelim cards?
All right, my favorite fight on the prelim card is Fluffy Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov. That's going to be a straight up just banger. I mean, that fight's going to be crazy. Both of those guys are just
I think those guys are opening up the main event.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, I think it got moved.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it did get bumped up. Oh, yeah, because the Lima fight got knocked off. And, all right, so that fight got bumped up. Prelims. No. Yeah, Junior Taffa had to get that fight's off.
Justin got pulled. Junior, his brother, is stepping in on 24 hours notice.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's going to be fireworks. It's going to be fun to watch.
I guess that's going to be my pick because that Lemos Dern fight, I mean, that could be a good fight, but it just depends on what Mackenzie Dern shows up because she's so inconsistent. You know, like sometimes she looks like she's a world-class fighter, and other times she looks like a complete bum. So it's like it's really just a 50-50. I like that fight on paper. I think it should be a good matchup. And I think both of them, if I'm not mistaken, which I might be, I got to check, it might be coming off of losses, both of them. So this would be a good opportunity for one of them to really step up. I'm going to jump on here so I can look at more.
Sure. Money Mansman, you've had some time. What's did you pick a fight you want to talk about yet, or?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Mansman special. Everyone should know what that is.
Oh, no. Well, There you go. First fight off the card. That's the Mansman special. And usually there's another caveat to the Mansman special. So continue, sir.
Yeah, yeah, and of course it's a women's fight. You know me, I love to bet those women's fights. I am going to take a little chalk here. I'm going to go Miranda Maverick.
Wow.
Lee
I like
has
Miranda
lost
Maverick for that one.
What's him?
I said I like Miranda Maverick for that one too.
Yeah, it's more a fade of KGB Lee. I haven't liked the way she's looked in the past couple of fights. And I think Maverick, if she could get the fight to the ground, I think KGB Lee has been struggling there the past couple of fights, getting taken down. Or at least I think her last fight, she got taken down a bunch. I think it's just two fighters trending in the wrong direction. I think Lee might be out of the UFC, 4 straight losses. She might be in PFL sooner rather than later. So I'll go with Miranda Maverick in that one as well.
Well, someone's got to take Kayla Harrison's place.
PFL's on the up and up. Watch out, PFL's on the up and up. I'm telling you.
Oh shit!
with Uncle Dana's looking pretty weak, and if he flubs this, dude, I'm telling you right now, if he flubs this UFC 300 card, like that's PFL's chance to really just step in there and say, you know what, we're taking over because UFC is just trending in the wrong direction right now.
Do they even have a main event for UFC 300 yet?
Not yet, but so Dana said he's going to announce it. I was reading yesterday. Dana said he's going to announce it at the post conference for 298. So we should know
be something
by the end of the event.
Is it going to be Conor McGregor versus the ghost of Nate Diaz 3? I mean,
look, dude, I'm hoping what I want to see for 300. I want to see Leon versus Bilal, but we just saw Leon Edwards fight. I would like to see, I'd like to see Hamza versus Duplessis or something like that. Just give me something.
But
good.
Hamza won't fight. That's he literally said it's close.
Right.
It's too close to Ramadan.
That's right. He's out for Ramadan, so he's not fighting right now. Izzy versus Duplessis. That would be sick.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I could get down with that. That would be fun.
The Battle of Africa. But Duplessis said he wants that in Africa. So what's going on? Like, I don't know how they're going to make UFC Africa happen now because, I mean, they don't have an African champion. I mean, they got Duplessis, but, like, come on. He's not real.
Cameron Simon. That's really about it. Like,
yeah, you got Duplessis, Simon. You got – who else is on there? Oh.
That's about
Kamaru.
Oh, yeah, Kamaru.
You got a bunch of African fighters. You got Kenny and Zekichu. You got Sadiq Youssef. I mean, he's Nigerian. He fights out of Maryland. He fights out of Beltsville, actually. So
that's true. Yeah, shit.
Shout out to PG County.
Yeah. So, all right. So real quick before we get into this main card, yeah, you mentioned the last topic I really wanted to get into, and I wanted to get Mansman's thoughts because me and you, Sam, we've been talking privately. The state of the UFC. We always give like a state of the union, but really it's the state of the UFC. What the fuck is Dana White like? First of all, this cracker fucking goes on to Howie Mandel of all people. 30 seconds in, is just like, I'm tired of podcasting. I'm done, and leaves.
Just left. Just walked down. Poor Liver King was there. I don't know why Liver King was there, but he was there. He's sitting there. They're all like befuddled, and I'm just like, what? What was that? Like, he's just like, you know what? Tired of podcasts, and I'm just tired. I'm not doing.
Tell me, Conor McGregor just rejected him before the podcast without telling me Conor McGregor just rejected him. But yeah. So on top of that too, the bullshit with Francis Ngannou. Like, yeah. Sam, you know that better than I do, but like,
it was pretty bad. It was. I mean, that was
why. Why is he still trying to fight Francis, like, with this bullshit and just, like, demean and, like, demote? Francis is making money, like.
Francis is getting the big bucks. He's living his dream. Yeah. He got everything he wanted and more, and now he's in line to fight for the world heavyweight title of boxing, which is crazy, in 3 fights. So, I mean, right now that's postponed because Fury got injured training for that Usyk fight. He took an elbow to the eye and got that nasty cut. So that,
Oof.
but that's the idea. The idea is the winner of Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou rematch. It fights the winner of Fury Usyk for the undisputed title. And to get up there in the rankings in just one fight, I mean, he almost beat Tyson Fury. Like, let's be honest. And if he had just stuck to the game plan, because who knew that Dewey Cooper is a fight genius? I just learned recently that Dewey Cooper was like a 2-time kickboxing world champion. He was a K1 champion. I had no idea. I thought he was just, some guy, who trained Francis Ngannou. No, this guy's legit. The guy's legit. You can look his statistics.
Yeah, K1's a decent regional promotion,
K1 was
right?
full of killers back in the early days. I mean, we're talking about the early 2000s when they had like Alistair Overeem and Mirko Krokop and all those guys. All the Pride guys were doing kickboxing at the same time, right? So all the Pride guys basically transferred over to K1 and they were killing it. I mean, you can look up his championship fight. It was him and Garrett Goodrich, and Garrett Goodrich is a nut. Like, if you know anything about Garrett Goodrich, that guy's a straight up psychopath. So, yeah, it was a good. I mean, Dewey Cooper is legit, but I mean, if Francis had stuck to that game plan, he probably would knock down Tyson Fury again or knocked him out. But he just went headhunting after he got the knockdown, and that's what really did him in for that fight. Otherwise, he was fighting the perfect game. He was outboxing Tyson Fury for the first 3-4 rounds of the fight. Then he dropped a few rounds in the middle, dropped like maybe 2 or 3 rounds, 4 rounds. And then I think he pulled it out the end, but, that's 6 rounds to 4 rounds. You're not going to win any fights that way. It was close. But, yeah. I think
it
outboxed at the end. But Fury.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, Fury's looking. I don't know. He's looking susceptible.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah, Usyk's gonna give him a run for his money for sure. Smaller guy, but Usyk's a much better technical fighter than him.
For sure. And then, yeah, I mean, otherwise, I mean, we could joke about slap fight all day, but I mean, yeah, but let's get to the real. Like you mentioned, UFC 300, and I think the last bit of it, 300 is supposed to be in Saudi Arabia.
No, it's in Is it in Vegas?
Oh, it might be. There was one there. They're supposed to have an event in Saudi Arabia, and they've had to cancel it twice.
That fell through.
Yeah, tell me why the king of Saudi Arabia has to go to Dana White. Your card is too pathetic. Give me better fighters.
Yeah.
And he can't pull it together.
300's in Vegas, boys.
It is in Vegas. That's right. Thank you, sir.
I was gonna say, man, 300th UFC kind of has to be in Vegas.
Yeah.
But yeah, UFC Saudi Arabia, like, not only does that fall through, but Dana just puts up so bad. How bad of a card do you have to put up for the king to basically say, not good enough, try again, we're delaying it? But Bellator and PFL do a combined pay-per-view, champion versus champion, and it immediately gets pushed through. On what's supposed to be...
That's pretty bad.
That's all they
What's
want.
supposed to be a lower level. Unbelievable. But what's your thoughts on that, dude?
Well, Dana's trying to do a fight night, right? And I'm thinking if you're doing, you should at least do a pay-per-view card if you're going to go to Saudi Arabia, because people are going to want to see big events. Like, that's what Saudi Arabia is all about, is about throwing like big extravagant events. That's why they did, Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury. They're doing this Riyadh series with all these big name boxing events and stuff. And they're really just looking for championship caliber events. So if you're just going to come on there and you're just going to throw like, oh, I'm just doing, some random no-name fighters that nobody really cares about, of course they're going to be like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, we don't, like, people won't.
We don't want Bilal Muhammad.
I mean, Bilal Muhammad would be sick in Saudi Arabia. Bilal Muhammad would be crazy. Or like Hamza, you gotta get all like the Muslim you gotta get all the Muslim fighters on there. Get like Umar Nurmagomedov, get like Hamza, get all of them on there. That'd be crazy. Like the people would go crazy for that. Or like even you could put like Nasrat, what's his name?
Nasrat Hapcrest?
Yeah, like put him on there. That would be tight. Or like Amir Albazi, or Who else do we have? We got
Get the Jewish fighter on there too. Make it interesting, you know.
Oh
Natan
my
Levy.
God! Yeah, that's just what you
Or
fucking need.
Natan Levy's the cool one. The other one's the piece of trash. I forget his name.
Yeah, I forget his name, but I know who you're talking about. But
Yeah.
yeah, bottom line, what I'm getting, Dana is like losing it, and he is like losing his.
On the same quality. Like it's like, dude, it's getting predictable, and then all the fighters that we've known. I feel like we're backsliding, and like there was a period in UFC like after all the Pride fighters kind of ran their course. You know, you had like Lyoto Machida and Rampage Jackson and Wanderlei Silva and Rashad Evans and Anderson Silva and all those guys, right? And then there was like this period between like John Jones coming in before he won the title. So it was like John Jones is new, Conor McGregor's new, and it was just this weird like in between. Like I'd stopped watching the fights around. I'd say I started watching around like 2007, 2008, and then I watched them until like 2000, maybe 14. And then I stopped watching for 4 years until 2018. I started watching the fights again. I've been watching them ever since. But it's just like there was this weird period where there was like no big name fighters. There was no like quality fighters. You were just kind of hoping that somebody would step up to the plate. Like Brock Lesnar was in and out, and it was a weird time. And then of course you had like the new era started when Conor McGregor wins his first title. He wins his second title, you know, and then John Jones elevates himself to light heavyweight champion. He stays there for years and years. We all know how that goes. And then, you know, Ronda Rousey came in, and then women's MMA took off, and then Amanda Nunes steps in, and you have this cool little period where you got all these new fighters and everyone's doing something big. And then that lasted for a little while. And I feel like we're back to this spot where it's just like, what are we doing? You know, like we've seen everybody. Right. There's some contenders, you know, we got some interesting people in the mix, but who's really going to step up and be the next superstar?
Isn't Raquel Pennington a champion?
Gary, right? Like, who wants Ian Gary to be the next? Like, who wants Ian Gary to be the next superstar? He can't even get on a podcast. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, gee. And and like Mansman said, Raquel Pennington's a fucking champion now. Like,
I love Raquel Pennington. Look, man, I love Raquel Pennington. I love her to death. I don't think she has the persona to be like a world-class superstar, but I love her, and I think she's going to be a great champion. I'd like to see her make some defenses. You know, I'd really like to see her hold that division down. Otherwise, that division is just going to be all over the place. In strawweight, is it strawweight that's looking interesting? Who's the not strawweight?
It's Zhang Weili.
Zhang Weili, yeah. Is Manon Fiorot in that division, or is she in?
Yeah,
pretty
sure. That's actually an interesting fight coming up. Erin Blanchfield and Manon Fiorot.
That's gonna be a good fight.
That'd be an interesting one.
Yeah, Blanchfield's been really good. Manon Fiorot looks really good. She's just been blazing through people. I mean, she's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And then
all right. We'll end it with this. Mansman, final thoughts. State of the UFC before we get going.
Bro, I told you before. I mean, this is like a conversation we had 6 months ago. That WWE shit could only like hide for so long. No offense, like there's more competition now. Like Sam said, PFL's coming on. You saw what happened with Ngannou, like boxing. Like there are other things, and you can only hide sort of bad fights, disappointing cards. You can only hide that for so long beyond your baddest man on the planet championships and stuff. Like eventually, you know, you're going to have good fights. And no offense, we talked about it before. Like when you have 12 pay-per-views a year charging, you know, $90 or $80 for pay-per-view, no offense, like you don't produce the goods. You can come up with all the bullshit backstage crap you want. That ain't going to change the fact that the fighting ain't good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can't get mad at people when they try to illegally stream the pay-per-view or, you know, try to say like, well, you can't say on one hand you're putting on a good quality product, while at the same vein, you're also arguing, well, people are just illegally streaming it more and more and more. And it's like, well, yeah, nobody wants to pay for shit.
Yeah. I'm not.
Like, we want to watch UFC, but if this is what you're going to give us, we're not paying you extra. Especially if you're an ESPN Plus subscriber, or if you're already a fucking UFC Fight Night subscriber. Like, you don't want to pay more than you already have to for shit. Like, you could fucking go watch Cage Warriors or K1. Or if you really believe Bellator's that bad for whatever reason, you'll go watch Bellator for free on fucking YouTube. Or go pay for a fucking Showtime subscription for $5. Like, like, people would rather be cheap elsewhere than they would spend a lot up front for the same quality. They need to get better. But, main card, UFC 298 main card, kind of a mix of everything, a mix of emotions. I'll introduce the first fight. Sam, you alluded to it. You really wanted to talk about it, so I'll introduce it, and then I'll let you give your take. It is Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, middleweight bout, going up short notice. Roman Kopylov, who 12-2. Hernandez is 11-2, 0-1, no contest. Hernandez is a big favorite, -245. Kopylov 2-1 underdog. Over/under is set at 1.5 rounds. Some brief notes I got here for each fighter. Kopylov, it is 4 weeks notice. He got notified on January 21st. He has 11 knockouts under his belt. He started 0-2 in the UFC, has 4 straight knockouts since. So 4-2 UFC record. His opponents that he has defeated, however, they have a combined UFC record of 12-16. None of those fighters have a UFC record over 500. Meanwhile, you look at Hernandez. Hernandez had, in his career, 12 canceled MMA fights.
Jeez.
10 in the UFC, including a previous fight with Kopylov, which now appears to have been rescheduled more or less. He has 7 submissions under his belt, with victories over Brendan Allen, Marc-Andre Barral, and Edmund Shabayazin. He's 5-2, and he has the 1 no contest in the UFC, but that was actually on Dana White's Contender Series. This is actually scheduled to be a banger, and I know there's a couple sharp bettors out there. They're all over Kopylov. But Sam, I wanted to get your input before I actually throw any my money on this. Who do you think is the better fighter? Who do you think has the edge?
I mean, all right, so this is a really hard one because Fluffy's been on a tear lately. I've watched all his fights, and he's just been, like, on an absolute tear. Oh, hold on one sec. All right, yeah, I'm good. All right, so, yeah, he's been on an absolute tear lately, but Roman Kopylov has just been knocking dudes out left and right. So I really think it depends on where the fight stands. Like, if it stays in the stand-up, I have Kopylov winning by knockout. That's my safe bet. And if it goes to the ground, I have Fluffy winning by submission. So it really, like, for me, I'm 50-50 on the fight. It really just depends on how it goes. But I also Kopylov hasn't really been tested by any, like, real competition lately. And his what was I gonna say? So his cardio hasn't been tested either. You know, we haven't really seen him go to any 3-round fights. Most of his fights end within the first couple minutes of the first round. So
it's actually a pretty good point.
Yeah. So I'd say overall skill, Fluffy probably has the advantage. But at the same time, I don't really know. Like, I kind of want to take Kopylov, but I'm also, like, pulling for Fluffy at the same time. So I'm 50-50 on that one.
All right, Mansman, do you have a take on this one?
So, I mean, this is a fun fight. Maybe not a fun fight to bet. I would go Kopylov just because the numbers make sense, right? You got 2 guys who have been knocking people the fuck out, like, banger fight. Could be a complete, I mean, let's be honest, it could be one of those fights where literally they're just throwing haymakers and it's whoever sort of gets dropped first in the first round. So in a fight like that, I'm going to take the guy at plus 200 because we know at UFC, one shot, it don't matter what the numbers are, you could get knocked the fuck out. But yeah, it's tough. I mean, like, if I really had to pick, like, who I think's going to win, Kopylov hasn't really been tested all that much, and Hernandez has been hot as shit too. So I'd probably lean his way, but I think as a pure numbers play in a fight like this, like, I'm just taking plus money on whoever I can get because, let's be honest, it's one punch away. Like, it's going to be a fun one. That's going to be a fun fight. fight.
Yeah. I mean, this main card is stacked. It's a good card. It's a good card.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'm excited for the main card for sure, but the prelims aren't that bad either. We went over definitely some highlights. I actually took Fluffy on this one, and again, like this is a key note, and this is something I always am known to do. I love to fade the sharps at times. A lot of sharps I've heard talking about UFC this week, especially a lot of them coming off of the Super Bowl hangover. They're trying to now get into UFC 2 without really having watched it all too much or paid attention. I just think it really just comes down to, and it like Sam alluded to it, Kopylov hasn't really been tested against anyone with substance. I mean, the guys he's beaten, none of them have a record that's better than 500 in the UFC. Meanwhile, you look at Fluffy Hernandez, and yeah, he's had a lot of canceled fights, and we can laugh about that, but I mean, he's pretty much choking everyone out or knocking everyone out. He's beaten guys with like real names, like Brendan Allen, Marc-Andre Baralt. Guys who are pretty much like, I wouldn't say gatekeepers per se, but those are like some big names that you could put you look at a fight resume. Okay, this is a guy who definitely knows what he's doing. And you look at a Kopylov and it's like, yeah, the lines do make sense, Jason. But I think this is like a situation you do a correlated parlay, like on DraftKings. If you like Kopylov, bet him under the 1.5 and bet him to win. But if you like Hernandez, you bet the over, and maybe you even sneak in like a quarter unit. You do like a third round submission or second round knockout.
Oh yeah,
because a couple of
Hernandez like survives early, and that's smart, right? That's smart. I like that.
Like that's the way I play it. Like I think it could be Juggernaut. It could be fucking like. It could be fucking fireworks off to go, and you might be expecting someone to get knocked out, but how many fights have we seen where this is supposed to happen, and it ends up just being like a crazy jiu-jitsu slow, first round try to figure the guy out, second round is where they actually try and think, and by the third round someone's tired, and then someone just ends up getting the advantage. So like, I actually like Hernandez by decision more than anything, and I believe right now it's plus 180, but like I said, I might flick a quarter unit just to get the late submission, 11-1. Sounds crazy at first, but I mean, if you think about it, like, I like the over in this. I think Kopylov really will get tested here, and he's going up against a guy who, like, we may not know everything about, but I know who the fighters that he's fought. I have no idea who the guys Kopylov has knocked out.
Yeah. I gotta look back at this. Let me pull this up. See who Kopylov has fought. I'm not really sure. I've watched his last 2 or 3 fights though, and didn't he?
Roman Kopylov last fight was Josh Fremd, knocked him out in the second round.
Yeah, Fremd is decent.
Claudio Ribeiro was before that, and then before that, Punahele
Soriano. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, Claudio.
Which again, like
new guy. Fremd's the new guy too. They're both new.
Yeah, they're decent fighters. They're decent fighters, but they don't have a good UFC pedigree, and that's kind of what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at Fluffy, and he's beaten guys with backing to their names at least. That's kind of where I take away from this. So, and I don't think it could be a knockout if you want to get cute and do a double chance to do Fluffy by finish. I don't think that's a bad way to go about it. But I just think it's going to go into the later rounds anyways. These are guys that probably do respect each other. And I think it's going to be a good fight one way or the other.
I'm looking at these Kopylov stats right now, and it says he has a 92% takedown defense. So it's pretty solid.
Ooh. And now that I wasn't aware of. But that's clutch.
92% takedown defense, 53% strike accuracy, 50% takedown accuracy. Lands about almost 5 significant strikes per minute. That's what I'm saying. So, like, if it stays on the feet, I'm definitely giving the advantage to Kopylov. And that's the thing. Like, if Fluffy can take him down, it's a totally different fight. But as long as it stays on the feet, I'm giving the fight to Kopylov. So
that's a very respectable handicap. I completely endorse. I endorse what you're saying. I'm just on the other side of the fence.
You can go either way with this one.
I'm just excited to see this one. That one's
that's gonna be a good one.
I'm actually excited. I'll move on to the next fight. I'm actually just as excited for this one, even though I think some people are looking over this. It's the ghost of the bantamweight division. It's Henry Triple C Cejudo, number 3 ranked bantamweight, coming off that loss to Aljo Sterling. He's going up against his teammate Merab the Machine Shively. I can't even say his last name. Valashvili. Yeah, the German, and not the Georgian, not the German, the Georgian.
Hold on, it's coming up. Dwalishvili. There you go.
There you go. Merab minus 238 favorite. Henry Cejudo is a plus 195 underdog. Over under is set at 2.5 rounds. Henry has alluded to the fact he may retire if he loses this fight, whereas if you look at Merab, he wins this, he's looking at a potential championship match.
Yeah.
Moving on, last 3 fights for Merab, he beat Peter Yan, Jose Aldo, and Marlon Moraes. Henry Cejudo, 3-2 as an underdog. He has actually won 3 straight as an underdog, beating Demetrius Johnson, TJ Dillashaw, and also, ironically enough, Marlon Moraes, all of which got him Performance of the Nights. Cejudo, 10-3 in the UFC. Merab, 9-2. Henry, 12 decisions. Merab, 7 knockouts, 8 decisions, 3 straight knockouts prior. Did I get that backwards? Might have got that backwards. I did. I think Merab has the 12 decisions. Cejudo had 3 straight knockouts prior to his 2020 retirement, but last fight did go to decision. Anyways, Money Mansman, I'll defer to you this time. Big fight here for the bantamweight division. A lot of incentives for both guys here. Where do you lean on this one? Because I think the odds are wrong here, but what are your thoughts?
Me, it's like oh my God, I'm looking at myself being slow.
Happened to me too.
Oh, happened to me too. Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on.
I don't either.
Yeah, so I want to pick Cejudo because I feel like, again, it seems a little disrespectful that he's a 2-1 underdog with like his pedigree. And no offense, his takedown defense, like we've seen it, he can survive the takedown, I think. I expect it to be a close fight. I think it's going to be a good close fight. I don't know, man. Merab, just like the younger guy, he's won a ton in a row. It sort of just feels like his time. It feels like a changing of the guard fight. I think I'd have to go with Merab here. The oh God, now I can't say it. I had it and now it's gone.
Valashvili.
Dwalishvili.
I'd have to lean to the Georgian here. Like, I really want to back Cejudo. I do think the odds are like way wrong, but I don't know. It just feels like it's Merab's time. Like, this feels like a fight he wins and is on for a title shot. So I don't know if he's going to be able to get the takedown, but I think he could hold his own on the feet. And if he ties up Cejudo for, 2.5 rounds, round and a half, I think that could be enough to win a close decision. So I would actually go Merab by decision here. I don't think I see a knockout. I think it's going to be a close fight.
Gotcha. Sam, who do you got here? Do you have Triple C or do you got Valashvili, or however you say it?
I'm kind of in the same boat as Money Mansman here. Like, I love Triple C. Triple C's my guy. I'm a wrestler. I love Triple C, and I love Merab too. But I think I feel like Merab's gonna pull it out. But I do like. See, here's the thing. Most of the people that like the last 3 fights that Merab has had are against like bums. Like he's been fighting bums. Like Jose Aldo. Like let's be serious, guys. Like Jose Aldo, he's at the end of his career. Okay, like he had like one last ditch effort. All right, cool. Marlon Moraes, he was on the way out. He was washed. Like by the time he got to him, everybody was knocking him out. So that was just like a given. And then who else did you say he fought?
Peter Yan.
Yeah, he in Ukraine. Did he get sent to the front
too? Perry Yan, ever since he got screwed in that Sean O'Malley fight, he has not been the same fighter.
Yeah, he's been
Actually,
terrible.
since he got screwed in the second Aljo fight, he hasn't been the same fighter. So he's fighting the ghost of Petr Yan. So I don't know, Merab really is heavy. He's takedown heavy, right? That's like his main offensive weapon is a takedown. And I don't think I just don't see him nailing a bunch of takedowns on Triple C, who's like a world class, two-time Olympic, gold medalist. He's Olympic gold medalist. He's the youngest Olympic gold medalist in the history of USA Wrestling. The guy's a freaking phenom, right? He's insane. I don't know how he fares on the feet. I can't really give a clear advantage to either one of them. But on the off chance, I would like to see, I think Triple C, if Triple C wins it, it's going to be by decision. I don't see him knocking out Merab just because Merab is literally built like a tank. And that guy's unlimited cardio. Like he has a crazy skill set. He has like unlimited cardio. But it's really going to be who controls the center of the octagon. If Merab can keep the pace up, he might tire out Triple C. Just as Triple C's old, let's be honest. He's like 35, which is like ancient in many years.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of want to take Triple C just because that's my guy, but I say the safe bet to go is Merab by decision.
Gotcha. And looking back at that Aljo versus Cejudo fight, just to throw you some numbers, 186 to 143 total strikes in favor of Aljo. Aljo got 4 of 15 takedowns, where Cejudo got 3 of 8. Mm-hmm. Significant strikes, 135 to 99 in favor of Aljo.
Yeah. And
I think that really, it doesn't really give the full story of the fight, but really what happened, Cejudo really couldn't wrestle Aljo.
Mm-mm.
Aljo is Merab's teammate. I think that's going to play a bigger factor than we think. Number one. Number two, here's why I lean Merab as well. I was with both of you guys. I actually really, really, really wanted to bet Cejudo. I actually, it was one of those moments. I had my hand on the button. I was ready to pull the trigger. And then I overheard Cejudo is saying he's going to retire if he loses this fight.
Yeah.
Backed out of the fight. Backed out of it immediately.
Yeah.
I do not want to bet my money on a guy who's 1 foot out the door, 1 foot in the door.
Yeah, good point.
Merab, on the other hand, is ready to take on Sugar Sean O'Malley and take the belt away from him and become the new meme lord of the fucking bantamweight division. Who, by the way, I will give Merab credit. He's doing a really good job at the memes. He's really killing it.
He's hilarious.
He's amazing.
But
he's also amazing in the ring. He is amazing in the ring. And he has fought bums. You look at Cejudo, though, and I'm not going to say he's fought bums per se. What I will say is you look at those past fights, that was before he retired. He fought Aljo to a decision since and lost. And it wasn't even really a fight where you could say Cejudo should have won. It was a fight where, he looked out of touch. He looked out of his realm. It looked like the game had just gotten one step better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Merab is at a point where this is his swan song, more or less. This is Cejudo's swan song. I think this could be his best fight. I think this is going to be great, but I wouldn't be shocked if he still loses by decision, which is actually the bet I am going to make. And right now, where are those odds? I just had that. Because Merab is the favorite. But my pick here, Merab to win by decision.
Yeah.
Minus 135.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, minus 135, Merab by decision. I think if you're going to play this, that's really the only way you play Merab. I don't see Cejudo getting really knocked out, even though it could happen. I don't want to discredit that. It's the UFC. Anything could fucking happen. But
yeah,
don't really know Merab to knock too many people out. I could see a submission, but I think Cejudo is just too good. I could see him sneaking away. And I could just see this being a decision. If you want to get cute with Cejudo, maybe you go on DraftKings and play the spread at plus 3.5. You could get it at minus 145 right now in favor of Cejudo. But I would here's my warning. These judges are just too unpredictable. You never know.
Yeah.
I don't like betting on the UFC judges whatsoever.
Oh, man, that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah, for real. You can have like a 10-hour.
We could have a film. We could have a film study session
Yeah.
on how bad these judges are.
4-day marathon on UFC judging. Oh man.
Oh man, it is bad.
Oh,
But yeah, no, I think Marab is the play. Unanimous decision here.
Yeah, I think.
All right.
Rob by UD is the way to go.
All right, next up, it's the fight of the century here. It's the future Ian Machado Gary going up this time for sure. No backing out. Jeff Hands of Steel Neal, the number 8 ranked welterweight, going up against Ian Gary, number 10. Jeff Neal plus 195 underdog. Ian Gary minus 238. Same odds as last time. No, that was not a typo. Over under is also 2.5 rounds. Here's some stats I'll throw out there, and then I'll go ahead and take my turn and give the take here. Ian Gary knocked out he went to decision with Neil Magny. He previously knocked the fuck out of Daniel Rodriguez, and then he knocked out Kenan Song in the fucking 3rd round. He's undefeated in the UFC. He has 7 finishes under his belt. Jeff Neal, pretty good career. Started off as a Dana White's Contender Series guy. He's 15-5. His last 5 fights, he beat Vicente Luque and Santiago Ponzinibbio. Mm-hmm. He did lose to Neil Magny and most recently Shavkat Rakhmonov, where he did miss weight, and he did lose to Stephen Thompson in like 5 fights ago. He's 8-3. He, for a guy with Hands of Steel, 1 knockout in his last 5 fights.
Yeah, it was Vicente Luque. That was crazy.
The
brakes off of Luque. That was a crazy fight. That fight was nuts.
Yeah, speaking of beating off the brakes, bold prediction, best bet, Ian Gary by knockout here.
Yeah.
What? Like, ignoring the whole cuck situation, ignoring the fucking Ian Gary, we hate Ian Gary now bullshit, looking at this just purely as a fight. Number 1, why is Ian Gary ranked less than fucking Jeff Neal?
Jeff Neal.
Why is Jeff Neal ranked higher than Ian Gary? Let's start there. Number 2, did you see the last 2 fights that Ian Gary did?
Mm-hmm.
He fucking kicked in Daniel Rodriguez's head.
Yeah, he blasted.
Then he goes up against Neil Magny, a guy who beat Jeff Neal. By basically hugging the cage, by the way.
Oh my god, he murdered Neil Magny. It wasn't.
He murdered Neil Magny. I remember that fight. That was
wasn't even close.
Sorry,
you wanted to throw.
It was bad.
It was so bad. And then Neil Magny.
Sorry, that was my fault. I forget if it was Neil or Jeff, but one of them basically hugged their opponent for 3 rounds and won a fight. But you're right. My bad. That was not that fight. But anyways, Neil Magny. Did you see the last? Go back and, if you don't know, watch the last fight with Ian Gary and Neil Magny. Ian Gary basically pulled high fight IQ moment and trolling in the same. He basically broke Neil Magny's calf. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. He broke a muscle. He then basically said every time he fell down, "Oh no, you want to do jiu-jitsu? Get up. Stand up." And it got to a point, if you watch the highlights, he's literally yelling at him every time he kicks him, "Stand up. I want to knock you." And Neil Magny just has to get up. And he just literally kept calf kicking him. Mm-hmm. Basically beating the shit out of him for 14 minutes. It wasn't until the last minute he finally goes on the ground and just starts ground and pounding him. He transitions into a late submission. It goes to decision. The shock wasn't that it went to decision. The shock was how bad he beat the shit out of Neil Magny. It wasn't even close.
30-24. Have you ever seen
Thank you.
Before?
Yeah.
30-24.
Jeez.
Meanwhile, Jeff Neal, you lost to that guy. And then you go and face Shavkat Rakhmonov, who, don't get me wrong, Rakhmonov got a little brave in that fight, and Jeff Neal had moments where you thought maybe he was going to clip him. But then at the 3rd round, it was Shavkat was okay, time to get this over with and get it done. And that's what he did. He basically got him down, he ground and pounded him, got to a point where he just basically tired out Jeff Neal.
Didn't he sub him?
Yeah, he tired. Sorry. Well, it was like a ground and pound, and then like he took him to the ground, and then he subbed him. Jeff Neal literally like turned off the cage and gave his back,
Mm-hmm.
and then like it just went to the ground, and it was over. And fuck the hate for a minute, but like Ian Gary is to me clearly the better fighter.
Yeah.
He clearly is the future of the UFC, at least for this division. Mm-hmm. That kid is a fucking monster.
He's sick.
And he's so tall and lanky. So even ignoring like the Gary like hype for a minute, like just watch the last fight with Rachmanov. It's probably going to be the same thing, or it's going to be worse. And Ian Gary will actually knock him out this time around. So, I love the knockout prop here. I might double chance on the finish. I might do first round knockout here because I think with all the bullshit, Ian Gary might go head hunting early. And Jeff Neal, don't get me wrong, it will be a test. Not to completely discredit him, but I just think these fighters are on two different levels. Jeff Neal's looking like a gatekeeper. Ian Gary really does look like the future, so give me Ian Gary all day. Mansman, I'll let you go ahead and make your pick.
Real quick, because you said a lot, and I'm in complete agreement, and it's also my best bet.
Oh my Lord!
Like Ian Gary. I mean, you watched that last fight against Neil Magny. Like that was a statement win. Like he slaughtered the shit out of him, and like you said, I think Ian Gary's in a different league. So I'm 100% with you. Best bet, Ian Gary. I think this is this I think is the slam dunk in what is going to be maybe a difficult main card.
Mm-hmm. I think. I mean, Jeff Neal is known to pull off some upsets. I want Jeff Neal. I want Jeff Neal to win, but I have to be realistic here, and I don't think Jeff Neal stands a chance against Ian Gary. I mean, the only way. So there's only one realistic situation where Jeff Neal could win this fight, and that's if Ian Gary comes in and he starts fighting emotionally. Because there was at one point in that fight, was it Song Yadong? Not Song Yadong. Who was the Chinese fighter he fought? I gotta look at it. There was a point early in that fight where he got clipped because he was just not
Kenan Song.
Yeah. So he was fighting him. He's not paying attention. He gets clipped early in the fight. It looked like he was gonna get knocked out, and then he kind of tuned back in, came back around, gets the knockout, wins the fight. But I think, if Ian Gary comes in and he fights Ian Gary's fight, Ian Gary wins it all the way because he's a taller fighter. He has, the technical, his technical fighting ability is just world class. I mean, he's just way up there. The guy's nuts. He's a great fighter. You might not like him as a person. You might think he's a drama queen or whatever, but, I mean, he's a great fighter and you can't knock that. So I think I'm going to have to go Ian Gary too.
Gotcha. So we're all in unison here with Ian Gary as well. Me and Mansman have a double best bet, Ian Gary. Do you think it'll be knockout, Mansman? Do you think decision? Or do you not have a pick? It's just...
If I had to go, I'd say knockout. Because he schooled Magny last time. I could see him coming out and trying to get Neal out quick.
Gotcha. I'm with you there. My bet is in Ian Gary by knockout. Currently, it is 2.5. Oh, no, that was Method. Hang on. Method victory. Ian Gary knockout, plus 320 on FanDuel, plus 350 on DraftKings. All right, moving on to our co-main event. It is the Reaper, Bobby Knuckles, Robert Whittaker, the number 3 ranked middleweight, 25-7, going up against the one and the only Borrachina, Paulo Costa, number 6th ranked middleweight, somehow, 14-2. Costa's a plus 195 underdog here. Whittaker, minus 238. A lot of the same odds for these fights, I swear to God, but
yeah.
Over under 2.5 here as well. 6-2 for Costa, 15-5 for Whittaker. Whittaker's 5 of his last 6 have ended by decision. Costa's 3 of his last 4 ended by decision. Both have lost to Izzy and faced Marvin Vettori in their last 3. Costa losing, of course, being a fat ass, drinking wine. Whitaker beating him by decision. He is coming off that knockout by Dricus du Plessis. And Costa hasn't fought in the last year and a half. So, Sam, I'm going to defer to you on this one. This is the co-main. I hear a lot of talk that this could be Whitaker's end game. This could be the end of Whitaker. He's not looked good. Costa's back. What do you make of those rumors? What do you make of this fight?
I mean, I'm going with my guy, Robert Whitaker. I like Robert
Bobby
Whitaker.
Nux.
I like him a lot. I like him as a fighter. I like him as a person. He's just an overall good guy. It's really hard to have anything bad to say about him. I think at this point, he's really just a gatekeeper, right? He just is keeping people in that top 5. And I don't really see Paulo Costa going anywhere. I think he's done. I think he's also a gatekeeper. So this is really just a fight between two gatekeepers. I don't see either of them going into the title picture at all. I don't see either of them getting a shot at the middleweight title anytime soon. So this fight is really just like a symbolic fight. I don't think it really holds any real significance. But I do think Robert Whitaker wins. I just think Paulo Costa is just too inconsistent. And I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think he wants to fight. I don't think he wants to fight at all. So I just see, Robert Whitaker win this one. And I don't think he's going to retire. I think Dricus du Plessis was just destined to be the champion, honestly. Like his path, he was just blazing through everybody. It was like what? He won like 6 fights in a row to get there to the championship, something like that, or 4.
6 fights against honestly nobodies. I mean,
right,
or at least nobody relevant anymore.
All right.
No, he got us money, so I can't complain too much.
So yeah, I mean, I think that Robert Whitaker beats everyone in that division minus Israel Adesanya and Dricus du Plessis, and that's really how it goes. Like I don't really see anybody beating Robert Whitaker just because he's a good all-around fighter, right? He has good striking, he has good takedowns, he has good. I haven't really seen him submit anyone, but I have no reason to believe that he couldn't submit anybody. So, yeah, I'm just taking Bobby Knuckles in this. It seems a pretty clear-cut victory.
Gotcha. Any over/under 2.5? Do you think decision, knockout, or is it just Bobby Nux? That's the play.
I think it probably goes to decision. There's an off chance that Robert Whitaker gets a knockout, but Borchin is pretty durable. I mean, the only person who really knocked him out was Adesanya. And, Adesanya is just a world-class striker, like easily one of the best strikers in the UFC. I'd say the best striker in the UFC is Alex Pereira. And then I'd probably put Izzy in like 2 or 3, like right up there behind him. Right up there with Leon Edwards. I think Leon Edwards, and yeah, it's Pereira, Edwards, and Adesanya are the best strikers in the UFC, hands down. And you could probably
hard to argue that
in there at 4 if you wanted. If you wanted to be cute, you could throw Sean O'Malley in there at 4 because he's a sniper. So yeah.
Yeah, I can't fault that list. Money Mansman, co-main. Who do you got?
Yeah, I was listening to another show that was talking about how Paulo Costa was a very live dog and how Robert Whitaker was basically done. I don't know, man. These seem like the fights that Whitaker wins. And like you said, I don't know if Costa really wants to fight. I don't know if I really want a guy like that off a long layoff because, no offense, I'm not exactly convinced that he's been hitting the gym every day. And I don't know, man. I could just see Whitaker sort of keeping his distance, winning by volume, in a fight where Costa throws 20 strikes the whole fight because he can't get close to him. I mean, I get what people are saying about Whitaker. Like he might have had the dream crusher against du Plessis. I don't think so, though. These seem like fights that Whitaker wins. I think he gets it done. Probably by decision. I don't know if he's going to knock Costa out, but Lord knows what type of Costa we're getting off a 600-day layoff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got Bobby Nux by decision, plus 110. That's just kind of that's basically my way of eating at the chalk. And let's be honest, when Whitaker wins, he takes it to the distance. He plays conservative. He only makes the smart moves. He loves to dance around the ring. He doesn't like to headhunt all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of to his deficit when he faced off against Dricus du Plessis, who basically is the middleweight. I would argue he's the middleweight sniper of that division.
I mean, he's a beast. The guy's he's a powerhouse, and he has a freaking, I don't know, dude's a tank. He's just never
but I
runs
just
out of
think
energy is a great skill.
No, he doesn't. But I think like this is just a fight that you look at Paulo Costa's last fight. He fought Luke Rockhold, the ghost of Luke Rockhold, and Luke at the last second clipped him hard.
Yeah,
and still showed some fight in him. And I think that kind of threw him for a loop. And I think Costa took another year and a half to kind of reevaluate his life. And this just seems like a fight that I think Costa wants to take to the ground and just like hug a dude for 15 minutes. Because I think there is a bit of him that doesn't want to fight anymore, or he doesn't want to be in the UFC for whatever reason. But at the same time, like, I just think Whitaker's, like, he knows the threat that Costa, basically the threat that he poses to Whitaker. And I think Whitaker's going to take this a lot more seriously than, we all think. I think Costa will too, to an extent, but I just think that even then, like, you look at these guys 2 years ago, Whitaker's still the better fighter. You look at these guys 4 years ago, Whitaker was still the better fighter. Mm-hmm. And really, just not much has changed in, like, the grand scheme of things, in my personal opinion. And if anything, what I would say is Whitaker may or may not have even gotten better since, the last time that Costa and Izzy fought, whereas Costa was overweight and fought Vettori and lost by decision.
Right.
With the same fight.
Yeah.
And Whitaker could just take that same game plan, because that's something Whitaker does. Whitaker took Vettori's game plan and just mastered it and just proved he was better. And I think you're going to look at the same thing here. Probably, if you're going to have a boring fight on the card, this will probably be it.
Yeah. I think so. What I've seen, like, I watch a lot of soccer, right? I played soccer. I watched soccer my whole life. And Brazilians have a bad habit. They're known for being party animals. So what they do is they get a little bit of success, and then they get a lot of money, and then they just screw it all away partying. Like, and look, it's happened to all the great Brazilians. It happened to Brazilian Ronaldo. It happened to Ronaldinho. Adriano is the worst example of it all, just wasted talent. And I think Paulo Costa is just going to fall in the same boat, where he just wants to make a bunch of money and he just wants to screw around. He just wants to party. He just wants to drink his wine, whatever. He doesn't really care about fighting anymore. He doesn't have the spark. He doesn't have the heart for it anymore. So I really think that we're going to watch Paulo Costa come in here. We're going to get what we're going to get with him. But I think Robert Whitaker, he has the heart. He wants to fight. I think he has probably one more, like, good run in him. He's getting up there in age. So I think he probably has, like, one, maybe two, if we're pushing it, more good runs in him before he hangs them up. Because I think he's like 33.
He's 33 or 35, something like that.
Yeah, he's around our age. But like I said, once you get up there, I'm about to check on this. Once you get up there, it's kind of getting towards the end of the road.
He's 33.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So 10 KOs, 9 decisions, 5 subs. That's good stats. Good stats. He's got 83% takedown defense, but you don't have to worry about that with freaking Paulo Costa, because that dude does not go for takedowns. He has virtually no wrestling. 4.47 significant strikes per minute. That's pretty good. 4.5 strikes a minute's a good rate. So, yeah.
Gotcha. I think all of us are on Bobby Nux here. Mansman, I don't know if you gave your take, but
yeah, no. I like I said, Whitaker definitely. I think he's a class above Costa, and I don't know what Costa I'm getting after 600 days.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. All right, we all ready for the championship fight?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Alexander the Great Volkanovski champion of the featherweight division, 26-3, going up against up-and-comer number 3 ranked featherweight Ilya El Matador Topuria, the supposed Spaniard, but really a Georgian immigrant, maybe something. I don't know. I wish he didn't claim Spaniard, but that's okay. He's a plus 105 underdog. Alexander the Great, Volkanovski, minus 125, over under set 3.5. Volk, he's 13-2 in the UFC. Only 2 losses were to Islam Makhachev in the lightweight division. He is undefeated in the featherweight division in his entire career. Meanwhile, Matador, he is 6-0 in the UFC, second time as an underdog since his UFC debut. 12 finishes under his belt. Volk has 13 finishes, 10 decisions. Last couple fights for Volk, we'll just go last 6. He beat Holloway 3 times. He beat Brian Ortega. He knocked out Korean Zombie, and he knocked out Yair Rodriguez. Ilya Topuria, he subbed Bryce Mitchell. He beat Joshua Emmett by decision. I think I'm going to go with Money Management here, then let's get his take before we pop off here. Yeah, what the okay, I'll start with this. This to me just feels like a plant by Dana White. Like, but let's be fair, what has Topuria really done to prove that he deserves a title shot here? And not trying to be a hater, I'm being real. Like, I went over the last 6 fights for Volk, all of which he was champion, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
What? Like, Topuria beat Bryce Mitchell, and he took Josh Emmett to decision. Beat him unanimously, but
the Josh Emmett decision, he kind of murdered Josh.
He
murdered
him by Josh Emmett, which is insane because Josh Emmett almost killed Bryce Mitchell. Like, he literally almost
killed him.
Like, bro. And
all right, so
like
Mansman, Topuria, is he deserving of this? And if he is, do you think he has a real shot here? Or
the winner and no, that's right. I just okay.
Really?
I really like Volk, and I don't know if my handicap is really Topuria, although I'm a believer in Topuria. I think he's the real deal. Like, I don't think he's just a guy who, like, I've seen him fight. He's passed every test. The Josh Emmett test wasn't even a test. He murdered the shit out of him for 5 rounds. I think that was another one. 50-42. I've never seen that before. Like, the guy just, he's good enough. I just think the Volk, I mean, that's tough, man. Like, I feel like kind of the same sort of like sharp handicap I heard with like the Costa fight, where did Whitaker have like the dream crusher? Volk, I feel like, put everything into those Makhachev fights, and to come up short and like get beaten up the way he did, like, I just wonder if there's going to be a residual effect in this. And I love Volk. I wouldn't be surprised if he won. It's not like my best bet, but I just have a feeling like he put so much into those fights. I could see a guy like Topuria, who's good too, good on the ground, good on the feet, just an overall well-rounded fighter. I see this being a close fight, and I think Topuria could get it because, again, Volk got some mileage on the tires now. Those were 2 tough fights with Makhachev, and especially the last one where, it didn't end well, and he sort of like, went out on his sword, so to speak, or went out on his shield. That could have a residual effect. So I think Topuria could do it, and I have a feeling he gets it done.
Jesus Christ, he's going with the dog. Sam.
I mean, so here's where I'm at. Volk, every time he's had to face a new challenge, he steps up to the plate and he just over-delivers every time, right? Everyone was like, Yair Rodriguez, he's on fire. He looks so good. He came in there and he got demolished. Like, it wasn't even close. It was a 3-round beatdown. And then Volk wins by knockout, right? A mercy KO, by the way, because he could KO'd him in the first or second round if he really wanted to. He just extended it a little bit, and he said, all right, time to put this guy to sleep. put the fight.
Same thing with Korean Zombie too, by the way.
Korean Zombie was looking really good coming in. He smoked him.
Yeah.
And then Brian Ortega, and he got close, right? Brian Ortega having that guillotine. It was almost there, but he popped out and he won that fight, And then the Max Holloway ones. Max Holloway was smoking the competition, like literally smoking people.
Yeah.
I think he outstruck Calvin Kattar in that fight, like 250 to like 80 or something. Something just insane.
It was something absurd. Like that, it was bad.
It was like 300 strikes to like 75 or something. He just murdered him, right? And he blew Holloway out of the water all 3 times. So I am gonna go with Volk, although I do believe that Topuria can win it. So if Ilia Topuria does win, I'm not going to be surprised. Because the other thing is, I feel like Volk is starting to get tired, right? He just like my management was saying, he's got some wear on the tires. And I mean, but he did totally take a nap yesterday at the press conference. That's never a good sign when you're sleeping at the press conference. I mean, you're pretty tired, but that was definitely an old man grandpa move right there. So
playing the character to life, I'll give him that.
I love Volk. I love Volk to death. And I bet against Volk before, and I've came up short, so I've learned to not bet against Volkanovski. But if anyone's going to beat him, it is going to be Ilia Topuria, because Volk does kind of struggle with people who have the power. I honestly think that Topuria has a power advantage on him, and I think Makhachev had power advantage against him too. So I think those two can go toe-to-toe for striking. I think the cardio and the durability of Volkanovski are really going to be the defining factors of this fight. That's what's going to make the difference. But I do like Ilia Topuria a lot, but I think Volk is going to pull this one off. I think he's going to step up, and I think he's going to pull this one off.
Gotcha. So, like I said, this was not my best bet, but this was contender number 2. This is, for me, it's Volk or nothing. We were talking, Manvin will attest to this at least, but Sam, I know me and you talked about this too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like a year ago, or maybe a year and a half ago. There were talks that we were and we've even said, oh yeah, Topuria versus Paddy Pimblett.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a good fight. That would be about on par.
That's fair.
How wrong were we? Now, how wrong were we?
I mean,
but at the same, yeah, but at the same time, like in a year and a half, would you really predict that same guy who we thought was on Paddy's level is going to be a champion? And basically put it like this: oh, hey, here's Ilia Topuria. I'm from the future. I'm not going to tell you everything, but here's what I'll tell you. Volk is going to go on to beat 6 guys in his division. Or even say 3. He's going to face Holloway a 3rd time. He's going to piece him up like it was nothing. He's going to get 2 other up-and-coming opponents who were really, really good. He's going to make that look effortless. His only losses are going to be because he moved up a weight class and he tried to beat a guy who's undefeated. Now, go to this Ilia Topuria kid. Oh, well, what did he do? He tapped out a Bryce Mitchell, who then had a seizure the next fight after. He beat up old man Josh Emmett for 5 rounds, and that was about it. Oh, wow. So, like, yeah, these two are going to fight each other. Where do you put the odds? Oh, God, Volk, like, minus 600. Oh, no, believe it or not, you can get Volk at minus 125. Are you fucking with me? Like, is this for real? This is such a, I'm worried that the books are, trying to trap people here, but, I get the argument, and I said this at the beginning about a different fight, and I think the same could be said here. If you like this to be early, Topuria under. Because Topuria's going to have to knock him out. It's going to be on the ground. It's going to have to be. And it's going to have to be early. It's not going to be later in the fucking fight.
It's going to be if Topuria wins the fight, which is completely possible. I'm not saying that
yeah.
busted. he might get dusted. It depends on which Volk shows up, right? Because Volk is coming off of two really tough, like Money Management said, he's coming off of two really tough fights against Islam Makhachev. The last one took a big toll on his mentals. He's feeling it.
But here's my counter to this. That was a short notice step up against the lightweight champion.
Right.
To go double belt. And it just didn't. And Islam literally kicked him in his head. And that does something to a guy, sure. But you know what? That was short notice. He's had a full camp to prepare for this guy. He's going down to his weight class that he's basically mastered at this point. And don't get me wrong, Topuria is a really good fighter. He's a lot better than I thought he was ever going to pan out to be. This just seems like too early. This just seems like another Plant situation where it's like, oh, well, who's the next up-and-comer in this division? Here, throw him to Volk. Let's see what he can do. Let's see if he's for real, or let's see if he's going to be another gatekeeper. And I just have a feeling that, like, Topuria really doesn't have all that much to go with the wrestling, that you really do kind of need to go the distance with Volk and make it competitive, like Makhachev did in that first fight. Mm-hmm. Now, the knockout power's there, sure, and that's the big question, is Topuria going to knock him out early? Knowing Volk, he'll take his time. He'll fucking, like, play the distance game, and he'll fucking wrestle if he has to. Volk is a very, very good wrestler. He was a fucking rugby player before anything. Yeah. I don't see Volk completely keeping this on the feet. And he has the ability to move it. And I just have a feeling that Topuria, with his lack of ground game, he's going to rely on the boxing. I still would put money on... Like, if it was a boxing fight, I would still put money on Volk to beat him. Volk is, like, the best boxer, probably next to fucking Sean O'Malley, in this sense. Where, like, if you get him one-on-one in the cage and it's just pure boxing and counters, like, you take Volk every time. He fucking took Max Holloway to fucking Hawaii, pieced him in front of his son, and then hugged him and said, like, here's your daddy back. I mean...
Dude's a mall. I'm telling you, dude, like, prime... I don't think Volk is past his prime. That's the thing. Like, I know a lot.
I don't think he is either.
Him off, but I don't see it.
And it's just like
wrong.
To me.
I hope I'm wrong. I like Volk. I hope I'm wrong.
This to me is like wrong odds. This is like, why are we favoring Topuria so much here? If Topuria was like a 3-1 dog, and you were like, look, I'm flicking a chip. If anyone's going to knock him out, it's him. Kind of like I did earlier in the episode with Val Woodburn, where I was like, look.
Val Woodburn. I don't want to hear Ilya Topuria compared with Val Woodburn.
No, I'm not comparing the fighters. I'm comparing the betting strategy, dickhead.
Oh my God.
I'm comparing the bet. That's the point. But I don't like betting on a fucking Ilya Topuria at like a plus 105. Like, to me, that just doesn't seem like it's worth it. Like, if I'm going to get Volkanovski at like closer to even than anything, like, I don't want to bet the dog. I want to bet that favorite who fucking has beaten everyone in this division. Yeah. And Topuria, no offense, I don't think he has enough of a resume to back it up compared to these other guys who have basically gotten their asses kicked in front of their fucking families.
Yeah, I mean, and we're talking about fighters who are, like, in their prime. We're not talking about, like, bums. You know what I mean? Like, Yair Rodriguez, knocked out, like, how many people he knocked? He knocked out, like, 3 people in a row or whatever. Didn't he beat Max Holloway? No,
Yair lost to Max.
Yeah. But Max Holloway is, like, all-time GOAT. He's, like, easily first ballot UFC Hall of Famer, all-time great featherweight fighter, definitely, like, king of the division before Volk came along and took over. And this is Volk's, 7th title defense? Or 6th?
7th or 8th or something like that. It's absurd.
Yeah, it's getting up there. So, I mean, Volk has, like, guy's a legend. You can't discredit him. I think Ilya Topuria. Now, here we go. I'm gonna throw the conspiracy. Here we go.
Yeah, wannabe. So here we go. Wannabe Conor McGregor. Let's go with that.
Just real quick, guys. I gotta run. So I'll leave you and Sam to finish it out. But I hope
all right, buddy.
All right, brother. But I gotta run, guys. Sam, always a pleasure to see you, man. Glad you joined us for sure.
We'll
definitely keep doing it. All right, guys. Take it easy.
All right, mansman. Peace out.
All right, yeah. So let's conspiracy talk.
Let's finish this up. Yeah. So what's your conspiracy theory?
That the UFC is setting Topuria up to win this fight. That it's rigged in favor of Topuria because Ilya Topuria was spotted before the fight taking pictures with the belt which is kind of sus because
That's
when the guy that's not the champion ever taking pictures with the belt before the fight. Usually it's you win the belt and then you take the pictures. So I don't know what that's all about, but that's a little sus. So if Topuria does win, the fight might be rigged. I just want to.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. Here's my conspiracy theory: Topuria's a wannabe McGregor. I mean, he really is. There, like, I forget who it was, but I saw a clip. Literally, the guy was saying this Topuria Volk spot is just eerily similar to like Aldo and McGregor. But here's the difference, though. Like, McGregor was already like a division champion.
Yeah.
It wasn't bantamweight, it was featherweight and lightweight. He was already the lightweight champion, and then he moved down to featherweight. Yeah. He had beaten guys like Chad Mendez and, other fucking killers.
I thought he beat Aldo first, and then he moved up and took out Eddie Alvarez. Or did he beat Eddie Alvarez? No,
he beat Mendez. He beat Mendez first.
Okay.
He was supposed to face Eddie. He fought Mendez. Then he moved to Aldo.
Okay, yeah, okay.
But regardless, like, basically that was like a double champ move, more or less. And Warrior doesn't even have like a championship fight under his belt. Like, this is his first one.
I don't think he won the championship in another. That's the other thing. McGregor won the championship in Cage Warriors before he came over to.
He was
already a champion in Cage Warriors before he came over to the UFC. And Topuria.
No, I mean, I'll say Topuria's established, but not nearly at the same level. But the antics he's doing, and especially at the last press conference, the antics Topuria's playing, it is just McGregor-esque. And I just don't know if he's really done enough to pull stunts like that. And I could just see him being fucking humbled real quick. Like, because you have to think, this, like, when it was Aldo and McGregor, like, Aldo was really getting heated. You could see it was getting under his skin, and he was getting pissed. Like, Volk is just kind of sitting there like,
okay.
Not
care. He doesn't give a fuck at all. He literally could care. He literally went to sleep at the press conference. Like, that's how much he does not care. He's like, he was out cold. Literally, Paulo Costa had to come over and be like, bro, wake up. You're at the press conference. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a great fight. I think this is gonna be one of the better featherweight title fights we've seen in a long time, like one of the more competitive fights. But I mean, again, Volk, every time somebody challenges Volk, every time there's somebody that really poses like a legitimate threat, he just blows him out of the water. Just literally blows him out of the water. And so
it's never close. It's never a close fight.
Yeah. And I learned that the hard way. I said, Brian Ortega, he's crazy. He definitely going to beat Volk. And what happened? He
did.
He did almost. But yeah, this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a good card.
This is the first card I've been excited for in a while, probably since Strickland Adesanya, truth be told.
These mic antics are just getting out of hand these days. Like, it used to be funny. It used to be cool. But now it's just like people just throwing each other under a bus, taking low blows, cheap shots, family, wife, kids. It's just really, we're in the dark.
Nothing's off limit.
It's bad. It's really really bad. Like, it's seriously bad.
It's the state of the UFC. It's kind of like, just circling it all back. It's like we were saying this about Yeah, it's the state of the UFC. Oh, and Uncle Dana. Oh, hey, this isn't exciting. Spice this up a little bit. Like, say so. It wouldn't shock me if that was the case. But the same vein, we finally got a good card. We're out of the football season, and I'm excited to get back into other things that I am just as equally hype about. But I think this is a good card. I want to appreciate it. Yeah. The prelims, I'm actually very excited for too. We got a lot of bangers on that.
I've really just been watching main cards. See, that's the other thing. Like, the fight night cards are getting stale. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's like, okay, yeah, like, it's a contender fight, but honestly, sometimes though, here's the thing. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes the fight night cards, they be more hot than the main events.
It's usually the one before or the one after the pay-per-view that actually is like worthwhile to watch.
Yeah.
No, the last few have been fucking snoozers, and
I haven't been
UFC. Hopefully, they get better.
Johnny Walker, Magomed Ankalaev. Who wants to watch that?
Jesus God, I don't even know. But I'll tell you what though. The next fight night. Speaking of the next fight night, we got Brandon Moreno versus Brandon Royval too.
That might be hot. Brandon Moreno's hot fire. Bro,
I'll tell you what.
That fight, Royval is pretty. He's fun to watch, but I don't think he'll go be a champion anytime soon.
I don't know, but we'll end the episode with that. But we'll come back. We'll do a potential recap episode, and then we'll come back to do Moreno Royval too. I think 'cause that card looks pretty juicy. We'll give out some of our picks there, and that'll probably be next Friday if we do that. Otherwise, guys,
Is that Mexico? I think so. It looks like it is.
Let me see. I didn't know it was Mexico. It is. You're 100% right.
Yep. All right, that makes sense. Yeah, it's gonna be fire. Last Mexican card was crazy, so that's gonna.
We're gonna have to. So yeah, next Friday, join us when we do UFC Mexico handicaps and predictions. Sam, if you want to come back, you're always more than welcome. We'll have you here.
Thank you, my brother. Always good.
Yes, sir. Of course. Thank you for joining us for this episode, and thanks for hanging out. Thank you, everybody who's tuned in. This is the Distinguished DeGents podcast. Sam, any final words before we sign out?
Everyone have a good weekend, and let's enjoy these fights. This should be a good time.
Hell yeah.
Lock in. Stay locked in. Oh, also, I do want to say one thing. Happy birthday to the legend himself, the OG, Ice-T, a.k.a. Finn Tutuola.
Yes.
So happy birthday to Ice-T. We love you, OG.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Yes,
Ice-T.
sir. All right. Have a good night, DeGents. I'm Big Bucks Beta. This is Spaceman, Sam Celentano. Have a good night.
See ya.